and welcome to Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise where we stop, listen, and share. I am one of your hosts, Nate, and it is great to be back with everyone for another edition of our talk show here at Stop Now. I hope everybody has had a great month of March as the calendar keeps on rolling. I wore my green this week, even though St. Patrick's Day is in the rearview mirror. I wore my green just to be on the safe side so I wouldn't get pinched. But speaking of pinching, we have a gentleman who is part of our team who pinches all the knowledge and information out of every story that he researches, everything that he follows. It is great to have Walter back with us. Walter, how are you, my friend? And did you enjoy my strained analogy to get to your introduction?
Yes, I did. I'm doing pretty well. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Walter. It's always good to be with you, man, and have these great conversations and talk to these interesting guests to hear their stories. So I'm really excited because this week we're going to be doing a part two. We're going to be doing a follow up to the conversation that we had a few weeks ago with Krishna.
Krishna is an H-1B victim who has gone through a number of hurdles due to the problems in that program, and we're going to learn more about his story.
Absolutely. And we also have Amar with us. Amar, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Ned. I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, Amar is part of the Clean Shaven Glasses Club along with myself. So it's always good to have you here, Amar. uh,
Thank
and of
you.
course, the last member of our team is our producer. He is our fearless leader. He is the voice of the voiceless. JK. JK is with us. How are you?
I'm good, everyone. I'm on the background. So let's hear it from Krishna.
Yes, as you mentioned and as Walter mentioned, our guest this week is a returning guest, and he has a story to tell about his experience with the H-1B visa program. Krishna is back. Krishna, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. And thank you for having me again on your show.
Oh, it is our pleasure to have you because the more we can hear stories from people that have been victimized by the program or people that have survived this program, the more information is out there, the more awareness we can bring to this issue. So, Walter, I'll let you go first. We can kind of pick up from where we last left off with Krishna, and I'll let you ask the first question.
Krishna, I believe where we left off, you were getting into the direct timeline of everything that was happening. And could you tell us more about your direct experience with the program and what it's put you through over the past several years?
Yeah, definitely. So initially, when I got here in 2013, basically, I don't know about anything about the type of visa. Okay. What are the rules and regulations around it? All I know was I got a work visa to work in the United States and live in the United States. That's it. So after I got here, I initially worked at a project they allocated. So with them, so I worked on that project. Later, they posted me on some other project they have through a client. So I went on site. I worked on that project. Then, after when I worked at the client site, uh, I wasn't happy with the work I was doing, and even the pay also wasn't sufficient to cover my expenses. So I left the project, and
Okay.
then yeah, and then I had to change to a different employer who uh, uh, basically told me to attend an interview with them. So once I cleared the interview, they had me onboarded onto their company basically. So ever since I've been working with them, but it's been a long journey. I mean, since 2014 till now, it's been 9 years with them. So going through a lot of hurdles. I mean, as I went through all these process and issues, I got to learn so many things within the program itself, and what are all the rules? You know, what you can do, what you can't do.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I
okay.
mean,
So let's not to interrupt you, Krishna, but let's pause there because I think some of the audience might be wondering. You know, you talked about how you worked for this one company, and it got to a point where you were not happy. You know, you weren't being fulfilled at this job with this client, and then you moved to another company. So did that cause any complications with your visa status switching employers?
not at that time because I was fresh. I came here. I don't know much since it was my first change of employer. I mean, at that
Mhm.
time, I don't even know. I mean, what is change of employer means, right? So all I know was I'm going for a better job. So I attended that interview. Once I cleared the interview, they asked me to switch over to them. So I switched over. So um, only once I switch over, I started researching into all these processes, how these
Mm,
things work, things like that. So as I did, I get to know different things. You know, when I search, if they even the verbiage, right, or the terminology they use in terms of employer, client, whatever.
mhm,
So these are like quite confusing, you know. He said I got selected for the job, but I'm working here and I'm working for a totally different project. So how this whole thing works? So that's where I was getting into curiosity, you know, getting to know things. What is it all about? So that's where I started my research until now. So now I know everything from from the beginning to where I am now. So it's a lot of research. I mean, it's also not easy to understand things when you come here fresh and
mhm,
when you don't know anything. But most of the people, I guess, they already know. But in my case, I came from a different country, so maybe that could be another thing, because I worked in a different environment totally. I mean, in terms of visa and other things. So coming from that background and understanding this new perspective, it kind of made me wonder, why is
mhm.
that, why is this, you know. So that's where I was getting into this curious mindset and started doing some research to get to know all these things.
Why do you think you are a victim?
I mean, it's like there are so many consequences, right? Once you get into this program, right?
Mhm,
So, in terms of your career, your career advancement, I don't see there are complications here. So let's say you came through employer A, right? So all your employer A is doing is just selling your skill, right, through him as a consultant, right? So in that sense, what type of career advancement you gaining, right? So you working at different clients based on his assignments. So at the end of the assignment, do you see any progress in your career? So let's say today you started as a junior developer, right? So what type of in a consulting company? I mean, here when you see the H-1B, right? Um, Even the consulting company do not have any definitive role to you. Today they sell you as a Java consultant. Tomorrow they can sell you as a Scrum Master, or day after tomorrow they can sell you as a project manager, right? So based on what the demand is in the market, you basically playing different hats, right? So in that sense, are you making any progress in your career? And also your pay is not increased so much. I mean, you kind of at some point in in this process you get struck. You don't see any further progress in your life, in your professional career, because all you're doing is you waiting for your getting your green card, that thing, right? So it's all employer sponsored green card, so I have to stick to them. So you have to do what they tell you to do. You don't have any freedom. You can't opt for, you go and you can't apply for a job for your own, and you can't go work at a client directly. These are things, I mean, it's basically restricting you in many ways.
Is this something, Krishna, that you had in common with other folks that were here on this H-1B visa? Like did you talk to other people that were on the same visa as you, and did they have similar experiences?
Most of the people, they don't talk because when they talk, they have a feeling of getting into trouble. They,
Mm,
they have a feeling of getting their visa revoked. When their employer knows, because it's fully controlled by the employer, right? So a lot of people, they don't speak up because they 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 don't want to get in trouble basically. So all they're doing is they want to do the work they are assigned and get paid and wait for their green card to arrive. But based on the queue right now, that's never going to happen in your lifetime. So I don't know.
mm,
After coming here, after doing all your hard work, after you sacrificing so many things, and you're living in a different country and
hmm,
going through all the struggles, you're getting nowhere. So
mm.
what is the point of struggling?
Yeah, it's like they're dangling this carrot out in front of you. They're dangling this reward for the hard work. And Walter, like just hearing what Krishna is saying, it's a reward that you're never going to get to. It's a finish line that you're never going to reach because the system is so backed up.
Yeah, that's what they're showing you, right? That's what making you curious every day to achieve that. But the reality is you're never gonna achieve that, right?
Mm,
And I guess that's you brought up something interesting. Is that the whole 60-day grace period if you lose a job? Is that always in the back of your mind being on the H-1B visa? Because just going through any regular job interview and how many steps there can be, it might take 30 days just to be onboarded to a new position. So is it do you feel that's a reason why people don't want to talk about their experiences, because that process is very stressful?
Yeah, if they, let's say if somebody came forward and he spoke about everything what's happening, right? So maybe it could be his pay, maybe his employer not paying him well, maybe there are some other reason, maybe he's not treating him well, right? So if he comes forward and speak about that, his employer may revoke his visa, right, tomorrow, and then he's become jobless. So at that time, his 60-day period starts, right? So he will go through the mental stress for those 60 days to get a new job. If he don't find a new sponsor, and if nobody is willing to give him a sponsorship, even though he has the skills, a lot of companies have policies in place, right? So
Okay.
to get that sponsorship, it's a challenging thing. So if he's lucky, he can survive. If he's not, right, if he can't get, he had to leave. So that's always they think. So they don't want to speak up about what's
Mm.
happening.
Yeah, because it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of choice. It's either you leave, like you're saying, Krishna, or we've heard stories of people that have wanted to stay because they've built connections and they've found community and they found friendships and they don't want to leave, but they don't have their employer through the program, and so they are forced to do other work and they get roped into this modern slavery, and so it's a very difficult position to put somebody in, especially as Walter said. Like 60 days seems like a decent amount of time, but if you really think about it, from leaving one job to starting a new job, that is very short. And companies don't have the pressure to do this quickly because it doesn't matter to the company, but it matters a lot to the person on the visa because the clock is ticking the minute you leave that last job.
Yeah.
So what else did you learn? You said you did a lot of studying, you did a lot of research and learning about this program. What were some other things that you learned about the H-1B visa program that you think people need to know?
It is, I mean, a lot of people, they already know how it works. But in my case, I wasn't because, like I said, probably they explain to them when they apply, but since I worked in a different country, there, if you have a work visa, you can go and work for any company. There is no such restriction that he is your employer. You are allowed to work only to him, and you need to work only through him. There's no restriction as such. So I was thinking in the same mindset. So this is also a work visa. I can work for anybody. When I was initially coming through this system, but after coming, I got to know that it is like an employer-based visa, and
Mhm.
he is the sole, uh, you know, owner of you, right? So
Mhm.
you just have to say, you just have to do whatever he says. I mean, whatever work he assigns, you have to do, and contractually you have to work through him. So, and also in terms of mm, pay and all, also most of the time you shouldn't speak, right? So because he basically has full control over everything.
Mhm.
So how to get justice in your case? What step are you going to take?
Justice, I don't think, I mean, from what I know so far, the justice in these scenarios is a very daunting task, right?
Mhm.
So the reason I say daunting task is because there are loopholes in the system itself. So they can get away easily with using these loopholes, and they have more power on you. So and maybe money also more than you. So yeah, it's hard to survive, right? I mean, especially when you're working under someone who has more power than you and who has
Mhm.
more influence than you,
Mhm.
because they already know the system, how to play the game, right? You are just they just got you to work for them. So they already know everything how to play this game. So it's difficult. I'm saying maybe there are options, but I'm not 100% sure how they work.
And it's especially difficult, Krishna, when you're talking about some of these companies. We've been doing the experiment here at Stop Now for a few years now, and just hearing some of the names of these clients, some of the names of these corporations that use the work provided through the H-1B visa program, I can understand if you're somebody who is like, this situation isn't right. I'm not being allowed to, use my talents to their full potential. My career's not going where it needs to be. I'm chained to this one employer, but my employer is also like one of the biggest banks in North America. And so I can't make a whole lot of noise because at the end of the day, they're a big company and I'm just one person.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even legally, they have more control than you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So because you bound to the contract they set, right? So even if you go legally, you are already there. You signed that contract. You
Yep.
agreed
Mm-hmm.
to that. So they can show that we agreed to these terms. We just hired him, and we are giving him work. So that's what they would say, right?
And in your case, dealing with all of this and being in the United States working for as long as you have, what would justice look like to you? What would you like at the end of the day? Is the green card your goal, or what is your what would be the perfect situation for you?
The situation is like, after you, at least after you spend significant amount of your time in this country, right? You definitely want to settle here. You came from a different culture, you adapted to this culture, and you decided that this is your home, right? So now, if you let me go, I have to go to some other country, or again have to restart my life. Or if I'm going to my home country, I have to reset my life to square one, right? So what is the point of um, um, working hard, trying to achieve this goal, being an youngster, coming here, spending all this time, basically half of your life is wasted if you're going back, right? And if you're going back, you're not going back as the same person, right? You already old. You lost all your strengths. Now, if you go back and restart your life, what type of life you get even in your home country, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are not the same person. You lost all your that the what do you call the time frame from your graduation to where you are right now. Maybe you gained expertise and other things, but they may not help you, because some companies they have these age based discrimination, right? So if you are certain after certain age, they don't prefer you, prefer hiring
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the point of going back and restarting the life again? So when you see all these red spots.
Mm. What would reform look like for you, Krishna, in terms of this program? Like, are there things that you would suggest to make the program more fair? Maybe limiting the amount of time an employer can, kind of have the contract rights to a specific employee. What are some things you might change to, if they're not going to get rid of the program, what are some things you would change to make it better?
It shouldn't be employer specific. That's the first thing I would
Mm-hmm.
say. You should give that freedom to the candidate, to the beneficiary, to apply for the jobs he is interested in. Keep the 60-day, that's fine, but give that freedom for him to explore his options in those 60 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I don't know how feasible that solution is, but that gives some flexibility for them to go directly to these employers, So he don't need a sponsorship in that case, right? Right now, binding him to the sponsorship clause. So even though some clients are really interested in his talent, they are going through the company policy. Oh, this position is not allowed for sponsorship, right? So the companies also have challenges there to in order to do the sponsorship, right? So they have to prove that they didn't find a candidate suitable for this role in United States. That's why they're hiring this foreign candidate, right? So there they can't. I don't know what type of implications they have there, but as per the policy, they don't hire you because you are in a situation seeking visa sponsorship. So, I mean, that would the first thing I would suggest the program should address.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if so many people can come and flood in the system. If they do that, maybe that could be the reason they added it. But I don't know the whole background of that. But that definitely allow the beneficiary to kind of survive in this program.
Okay, I need to jump in here. Sorry, guys. So I am going to grill Krishna. So I'm not going to play the devil's advocate here. I'm not going to upset him because
Mhm.
I refrained for so long. So I'm going to play safe and do some favor and also ask some critical questions as well. Krishna, if you don't mind. So
Yeah, sure.
what do you
Sure,
expect
definitely.
from us, right? So is there like a clear cut mindset in which you talk that you have made up your mind saying that like this H-1B visa program has to be stopped, it has to be abolished, or you're going to say, oh, let's work with the Congress to make some modification and it is a good program. Why I ask this question, I'll clarify. Because we have done the quite extensive research as well as interviewed and talked to victims and survivors who have been victimized, and they have been in the White House as well in the trafficking movement. And they themselves still say that like H-1B program is a good program. They support it. So that's why I'm asking, like, where do you stand?
Yeah, I definitely support it because this country needs talent. Okay. So that is the main intention of this program, to bring in talent from international, right? It's also providing an opportunity to the skilled people to come to this country and explore their dreams, right? So in that sense, I definitely keep it open, not to shut down, but it shouldn't be that rude. The current state of the program is so rude. If you look at it in from any angle, there are so many things the beneficiary is going through. So it could, when you say beneficiary, it should benefit him, right?
Mhm.
In some way. But here it's not like considered as a benefit. It's basically creating him a lot of trouble. Dealing with these employers, dealing
Again,
with the market.
I need to stop there, right? So
Yeah.
I'm still confused, right? So you are taking the same stand, right? Just like everybody else. So you are saying
Mhm.
that, like uh, it's okay to exploit. That's what I hear from you.
No,
How
no, no,
the
not to
problem is,
exploit.
right? See, clearly it states, right? The rule is it's an employer-based visa, right? EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, EB5. We have this category, right? That is why, like, this is not the whole job market, right? It's a very minuscule from the overall population, in which like every year, like hardly 100,000 or even less than that alone come on this particular H-1B visa, right? So that's why like it's not a major problem as such. Whereas like 150 million people are trying to immigrate and come to US. So in that aspect, it's a smaller problem. But from the standpoint of your argument, right? If it is tied to the employers, what is the logic of employers to employ anybody else, to exploit the work from the person and make money out of it. That is the logic of business. So what is wrong in controlling you and asking you to get the work done and then throw you out? So that is why like it's called a temporary visa. And why do you find fault with that? And how do you like even say that like you are a victim in this case? There is no victimization here.
So you're saying, right, you come here temporarily, you make some money and get out. That's what the intention of the program?
Yes, of course.
No, that I mean, I didn't come for that. Basically, I know it's maybe
that is your prerogative, right? That is your choice, right? That is your game plan, right? What you want to do is like you want to immigrate, you look for an alternative solution. Why do you like stick into this? And every year, that's why like they keep having this lottery system and trying to bring in more people. And we all know that, right? You yourself admitted, right? Many people, even in the H-1B visa, they don't disclose that to the employers, right? Or the end client where they work, because they don't want to speak each other in terms of, oh, I'm on H-1B visa, I'm on the ticking clock, and I will be out anytime. So nobody exposes that. It looks like a open secret.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to talk about the problems, right? In this, the reason is, if you are saying you are on visa, how did you have your 10 years of experience in US? Most of the resumes, like the candidates they share, they lie on the resume. No
Yeah,
but is going to select you, like if you are going to lie on the resume and say like you have a fake resume to get into a job. So how is it fair? How is it like fair for the American citizens, right? How do they get the job? And they just say that like, oh, we don't have talent. Fuck that. I don't believe. So you are going to say like people from abroad are smart and talent and they can do the job, and educated Americans here cannot do the job?
yeah. If they can do the job, why you bringing in people then?
Yes.
Right?
Why do we be? Yes, we have to think critically.
Yeah.
Why do they bring in? To control, because you cannot
Mhm.
exploit the Americans for long with low wages. They have the rights, right? They will talk about the rights. If you are paid 60,000 a year, you are okay with that. For doing the same job, Americans will ask $100,000. Business has to make profit. That is why like they are bringing you.
Yeah, that's fine. But if you bring me in after I got into the green card process, right, through you, why it is so lengthy? Like, why I have to spend my entire life chasing the same thing to get my green card? Why is it so daunting to achieve get my green card?
I'll tell you why, right? It is not Americans' problem, right? It's the fucking Indians' problem. You are overpopulated, right? We don't want to discriminate. We want to give fair share to every other country. So that is why like we are having a country cap. Only 7% of any country can come into that quota. So that is why like you guys are backed up. Millions of people are trying to come in. So you want me to give everybody, like, and the entire Indians take over the America? Is that what you are suggesting?
No, I am not suggesting that. I said that too,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
why.
if they,
Right? So then where is the fault here, right? We can't do anything, right? If Americans are creating a system, they have to think for their own advantage.
Mhm.
We cannot
Yeah, but
work for every other Tom, Dick, Harry, like who's trying to come and knock at the door, right? Let's be
okay,
on that
but
part.
yeah, that I 100% agree what you're saying from the American perspective. But you creating an opportunity for others in this process to exploit people who want to come here and work, right? So that those issues you must address, right? So you basically created a playground.
Krishna,
Yeah.
stop. Let's be very honest here, right? So
Hmm.
we are not going to fool the audience here. We are trying to experiment, right? And we are trying to help everybody in this process to understand this better, right? That's why we asked, right? Even Amar asked the question, why do you think you are a victim? You admitted that like you are a victim, right? You are yeah, thought process itself, right? Why I am being subjected to this harsh condition, right? The problem here is you are not understanding the legal standpoint and you are not making the right decisions. You admitted yourself, right? You are not able to talk to other H-1B visa holders freely. You guys did not have the community to come together and put forth your problems. The law is clear. If your employer is exploiting you, file a complaint with the Department of Labor. But you are saying that if I file the complaint, I'll be kicked out of the country because I'll be targeted that. That has to be established by a large number of people to create that as a huge problem that exists in the system. Without the government being aware of that, it's just going to be here and there, one here or one there kind of case. They will not look at that, right? They don't have that kind of bandwidth to address every individual's problem in this country.
Yeah,
Right?
that never gonna happen because they always uh, have this agreement, right? So you work for me, I'll take care of you, right? So in that sense, the employer will process his green card, and he will help him to get his green card, the employer-based green card. So for that, he always think that he's doing me a favor, so I should not talk against him. So that is the understanding among most of them that will continue to happen.
Absolutely, I agree, right? It's like you are getting married to your employer, right? Just
Yep.
like how the domestic violence happens. Women doesn't have that, though they have the courage, they don't want like to have their life thrown off by saying that like the husband is abusing them and filing a complaint with the police. It's going to complicate their life. It's going to end their marriage. That's why like they allow the exploitation and abuse to happen within the family system. Just the same thing happens with the employers, right? You are in no way obligated. You don't have to be loyal. If they are exploiting, if they are abusing the system and trying to exploit you, you have to have that courage and be brave, file the complaint. Then only you can move forward. If you are going to say, okay, no, I am not going to, and you cannot attack somebody anonymously, right? It's not how the legal system is set up. So there is no choice for to end this suffering, right? Nobody is going to come forward. Everybody, millions of people, as per your statement, right? Millions of H-1B visa holder are silently suffering through this green card process, right? Even the latest bulletin, right? You might have heard it has gone back for the Indians. The priority date has gone back. So you have to wait in line for longer period. That's not going to change in the near future or ever.
And hearing you talk about that, like in that fashion, JK, I always bring things back to sports, and one of the most difficult stories in the history of sports to me is the career of Curt Flood. So really quickly, for anybody that doesn't know, Curt Flood was a baseball player in the 60s and 70s, played for the St. Louis Cardinals. And at that time, they did not have free agency in baseball, which meant each player was owned by that team and they could not move unless the team wanted them to move. They didn't have the freedom to say, okay, the Cardinals aren't paying me, so I'm going to go play for the Dodgers or the Astros. They were stuck with that team. And it took Curt Flood to challenge the Major League Baseball rules to get them to change and to allow things to loosen up and give players more rights. But it came at the cost of Kurt Flood's career, because Kurt Flood never played baseball again after that. I think he might have played one season, but it was pretty much the end of his career when he went up against the institution. And so to bring that back to the H-1B, JK, it's going to have to take somebody who has been victimized by the system to stand up. And as you said, it can't be anonymous, unfortunately. They have to put their name out there. They have to get out there and put it on the line, because that's the only way I think something like this changes, is if the legal system and the public can put a face to a problem, because that's how change happens a lot of times. So it's like somebody's got to kind of be the first one to step out on the limb. And a lot of people don't want to do that, because rightfully so, if I stick my neck out, I might be the one on the chopping block, and the system might change, but I'll never get to experience the system being changed.
I think in that regard, it doesn't necessarily have to be just one person. I mean, if 100,000 together came and filed a lawsuit, that would be possible. But that is the problem when you're living in fear. No one
Yes,
wants
it takes each of those 100,000 people individually to make that decision.
Right, yeah, that no one wants to risk it and possibly upset what they what they already have. So it's a very difficult it's a very difficult situation to get in front of. It's kind of like how the labor rights history in the United States. It always starts with people coming together and working together to get a change. That's why we have weekends, and that's why we have 40-hour work weeks, is because people came together and fought for that. A lot of labor strikes. So, but what would that look like for H-1B visa holders? I mean, that's kind of why I'm in favor of completely redoing the program to be something else instead of what H-1B is, that's tied to specific employers. And I still think the grace period, which recently there was a subcommittee of the presidential subcommittee put forward a 180-day grace period, which is much better than 60, but it still doesn't fix the issue of it being tied to one employer. Will that cut down on exploitation? Maybe not, but it's at least if someone gets fired, they would have more period. But that would take the USCIS to agree to make that change. So there's still, even that doesn't come close to fixing all the issues with the program right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Walter, I agree to it, right? So why do we started this campaign, and why do we wanted to end this program? So it's like a broken pieces of glass, right? You cannot fix it. And you cannot, even if you try to glue it and do something, the face will not look the same when you look at that mirror. So something like that, right? So it is going to be exploitative no matter what you're trying to do with that. So that's why, like, I'm against it, and I have seen in and out of it. So it has to be scrapped. It has to be completely taken out. And let's be creative. Think something fresh. Like I would say, like, even Krishna will agree to it. Every individual will get their visa, no matter what, whether it is the lottery system or any other system. Give them the freedom, which is what this country stands for, liberty and freedom. So give the individuals the choice, let them come here, and let the companies use their talent. If you are going to say, like, we are going to treat them with equal pay, just like Americans, and we are going to hire them for the talent, then be honest about that. We have to create a visa that provides and truly welcomes people with talent to come and immigrate, and because it's a country of immigrants, we cannot say that, like, no.
And I think that's kind of what the problem is right now, because the H-1B has a portion which says H-1B visa holders are supposed to be paid at the market value as the same market value as U.S. citizens, to be fair to everyone. But with the different layers of who gets paid what, and sometimes the H-1B visa holder not knowing how much their employer is getting paid to help them find jobs, they don't even know if they're really being underpaid, because there's a big culture in the United States, like, don't talk about your salary. And on the grace period, even that introduction of the 180-day grace period only really came about because recently, after the last layoffs of like over 10,000 H-1B visa holders. Some of them came public with their names. It went public on LinkedIn, went public to Wall Street Journal, went public on different podcasts, and we're like, this is a problem. No, I have only 60 days to try to find a job, or I got to leave, or I might be now classified as overstaying my visa in the United States and be undocumented, and I might not be able to come back or work legally. So that's the only reason why I believe that only reason why that proposal even came to fruition is because people started talking and putting their faces out there. And I reached out to some of those individuals, and they have not gotten back to me to talk to us here at Stop Now, because probably they might have suffered some pushback or started getting afraid after speaking out after the layoffs. So it still is a gigantic problem, but we have seen that if H-1B visa holders come out and start talking, and a lot of people respond to them positively, then that starts getting, oh, wait a minute, maybe we need to change how this works, because this is a problem. A lot of people are starting to focus in on it.
Yeah, Krishna, your take on it, right? So again, we welcome you to put forward your viewpoint here. All right. So how do we work on this? Because I am trying to understand, even the victims are still not clear, right? Because in the legal system, they provide alternatives. Most of them, they don't know that, right? If they are victim, they can apply for T visa or U visa, and they are protected, and they can get work authorization and be independent till they get the citizenship or whatever path they decide to do that. So to recap your story, right? Are you aware of this, right? So that we can conclude this episode and continue to work with you and find a solution in your case.
Yeah, so far I am not aware of those TU visas, but definitely I will definitely would like to know more about them and how that works. And if that suits my situation, definitely I look into that option.
And I think that to me is the biggest word about all of this as we kind of wrap things up this week, JK, is options. Like, what are the options of the employees? What are the options of the folks that are writing these laws, the folks that are putting this system in place? And what are our options, JK, as an organization, as a show, as somebody who is trying to bring awareness to these issues? Like, what options do we have to make our voice heard and make, and as much as I joke about it off the top of the show, and it's kind of become one of your nicknames, like, how do we give voice to these voiceless people?
Well, absolutely. I don't want like to sound very optimistic. You all know that like I'm a
JK's a glass half empty kind of guy.
no, I'm a complete empty guy.
Yeah, the glass is completely empty.
Empty.
There's no water at all.
Yes, you can fill with any nonsense in me, because I'm not real. I'm a faceless, voiceless person. I'm joking, right? So this is, again, don't get too much hope. That's what I will say, like, even to the victims. The reason is like the country is such a mess, and it's a crooked country in the world, and they always want to exploit every other nation. The same thing is going to happen even in the T visa or U visa, right? Even in the human trafficking spectrum. We have very hard time to believe that. And there is a huge, Krishna, for your information. I'm not scaring you. Even those options are backed up. You are on the backlog. Even if you apply for a T visa or U visa, it will take 18 to 24 months for you to even get your application processed and get a employment authorization to be free and work on that. So it's so much screwed that people who want to explore that option will think that by looking at that statistics and also the data, they will back up. They'll say like, oh my goodness, why should I go and stand in that line, right? From this line to the other line. It's not worth it. Let me stay where we are. That's how I see it, right? So any final thoughts or comments from your side? And we will wrap up this show.
Yeah, I mean, if things are like that, let them be, because one day, I don't know whether it will happen or no, but looks like they shut down all the, being a nation of immigrant, they shut down all the borders to the immigrants. That's how I would say.
Hmm. And to kind of wrap up, again, we'll spin it around. Amer or Walter, do you have any thoughts to wrap up this week's episode?
I do think with specifically Canada and Germany being on the front foot of pushing campaigns where they're welcoming migrant workers who are skilled in tech areas to fill positions where they need in their country, unlike the United States, where we're still being a little bit not migration welcoming for the open positions that we can't fill. I think that's going to also be a problem that's going to hurt the United States economy in the future, because if migrant workers can see that it's easier to go to Canada or Germany, which honestly, countries that have universal health care, not as much gun violence, and they're welcoming immigrants and migrants, they're just going to go there and instead, and we're going to have some issues if more American workers who don't have more children, because I mean the big issue is the baby boomers who are retiring out of or getting out of the labor force, and we are not being able to fill with new tech workers at the capacity of how quickly the tech industry is raising jobs. So I do think it's going to hurt the United States, its economy in the long run, if this issue isn't fixed and we're not as draconian against immigrant and migrant workers to come in.
Also creating workforce problems in corporations. They are already aware of it, but if they don't want to act, it's fine. It's up to them. But in a long run, they will definitely see that, the drawback.
Mm-hmm. And it also comes down to, not to now I feel like JK. I feel like I'm pouring the water out of my glass too, because now I'm feeling less optimistic. But it also depends on who's in charge at the time, because we've seen, Walter, how quickly laws can change from one political regime to the next in America. And so what might be optimistic, what might be, something that seems like it's gaining traction under one administration could easily be swept away under the next administration 4 years later. All right, so Krishna joining the team. At least that's what I heard, JK. I heard Krishna putting his hat in the ring to join us here at Stop Now and continue this campaign. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. We want to thank everybody for watching. If you would like to get involved, if you would like to help make a difference, you can go to stop-now.org and find different ways to volunteer your talents, contribute financially. I know we have a store. JK is making coffee mugs as we speak with the Stop Now logo on there, and you can check that all out. Subscribe to the YouTube page and all of that great stuff to stay informed, to stay aware, and we'll do this again next time. So for JK, for Walter, for Amer, and of course, for our returning guest, Krishna, I am Nate. And in the words of JK, bye for now.